Hey everybody, welcome back to Day 5, Breakfast with Bob from Hotel West End in beautiful Nice. My name is Bob Babbitt, brought to you by Master Spas, SFuels Go Longer, HOKA Let's Fly, deboer Wetsuits, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, Quintana Premium Plus Sports, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest coming off a 6th place at Challenge Roth, Mr. Bradley Weiss joins us, also 2-time XTERRA World Champion.
Correct.
Yeah. That's awesome. So this is probably as close to a off-road triathlon bike course as we see at an Ironman race, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, just thanks for having me on. It's great to be here at another World Championship event. And yeah, when Ironman released the news that they were going to be having an Ironman World Championships in Nice, not only just the history of this place, but knowing that it's going to be on a course that really does suit a different style of rider,
yes.
Specifically me, did it definitely make me pretty excited. And I came out after Challenge Roth to spend a week here training on the course. And yeah, every time I've been out there, it sort of gives me a bit of goosebumps, a bit of butterflies in the stomach, because I just know it's the type of terrain that I can really take advantage of. Having an XTERRA background and doing a lot of mountain bike racing in my youth, my climbing is probably one of the strongest in Ironman circles.
Yes.
And it's something that we don't really get to show that often, because unfortunately just the nature of Ironman racing, it's really difficult for organizers to get us into really mountainous areas. So yeah, really excited about this course. And yeah, very fit and healthy, so can't ask for more in the lead up.
Also, you've been training with the GOAT. You've been training with Jan Frodeno for how long?
Yeah, that seems to be what I'm known for now.
I'm the training partner with Jan Frodeno.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's been awesome. Myself and my family went out to Andorra back in May. We went out and raced the PTO Ibiza event.
Yes.
And then decided to spend some time up in Andorra. I'd never been before, had heard a lot about it. Cam Worth actually came out and raced Ironman South Africa.
Yes.
Earlier this year, and he was just like such a big fan of the place. And I was like, okay, well, it makes a lot of sense, especially with the focus being on Nice. I'd qualified for the Ironman World Championships in South Africa, so I knew I had my slot here. So spending a lot of time in the mountains just made a lot of sense. And then myself and Jan connected at Ibiza. And yeah, I just said, look, I'm coming up to the mountains and it'd be cool to do a bike ride or something together. And yeah, first day I was there, we did a swim together and pretty much didn't look back. You know what we do as professional athletes, we're all like doing very similar sessions.
Yes.
Just on different days of the week. So we just decided to try and join forces, and pain is a lot easier to handle when you have some company.
Well, and steel sharpens steel.
Yeah.
And like when you train with a guy like that, there's on the downhills, things like that, he's a strong guy. But on the uphills, he's chasing you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got to push each other, and we each have our own strengths and weaknesses. And I mean, I was just very grateful that he was willing to have me along for the ride, quite literally. And yeah, he's just an awesome guy as well. He grew up in South Africa. We have a lot of like similarities there. And South African, like growing up in South Africa is quite a unique place and environment. Yep. So yeah, we had a bit of a connection over that. And then, yeah, obviously both preparing for Nice, just made a lot of sense to try and join forces. Got to know his family pretty well. And yeah, it's been amazing to just be pretty close to what looks like will be the end of one of the greatest careers of all time.
Well, and then your coach is connected too, because you want to make sure everything, if you're going to be training together, you got to make sure your coaches are on the same page. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think people get a little bit too focused in on their little world and what they need to do to be the best.
Yeah.
And when I came into the XTERRA world, Dan Hugo was one of the South Africans
who
was doing really well back then, and very similar story. You know, he sort of opened the door to me to come and train with him, and I've always been very receptive of that. And I think I've just always I identified from a young age that, you know, having that company and camaraderie and being able to push one another, and then seeing, at the time it was Dan and Conrad Stoltz who were pushing the boundary, back in the day. So to learn from them, and now to learn from Jan, I mean, I couldn't ask for a better mentor. And hopefully a little bit of that greatness rubs off on me this weekend.
Well, and it's interesting because Jan is that type of guy. When he won his Olympic gold, people don't quite realize it because we know him as a GOAT now. But he was like number 27. He was not the guy you were expecting to win. Everybody thought Javier Gomez was going to win. So he he defied the odds and became great. And you see that on a daily basis, training with the guy and what it takes to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jan is just another human being, you know. He still has the same difficulties as everyone, but it's
Right.
how he manages that and his mental space. And I mean, if people think that his intensity or drive or will to win this thing has dropped, they're very wrong, because I've seen some impressive amount of digging deep. Yeah, it's been pretty cool to see, like, firsthand just
Yes.
how just how much intensity he brings to everything in his life, whether that be diet or recovery or obviously the training. Everybody trains hard. That's no
That's
surprise.
a given.
Yeah. But it's just attention to detail on every aspect of his life, and that's something that I'll definitely take along with me. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail, you know, and a few times I got to be the hammer and I enjoyed
Which
it.
is pretty sweet. Yeah. Do you rub that in afterwards? Oh, remember when I dropped you on that climb? That was pretty fun.
We try to keep it jovial and make sure we both getting the best out of each session.
Yes.
But we do have our strengths and weaknesses, and, you know, I'm a 59 kilogram climber essentially. So it's like, if you look at the Tour de France or these type of races, there's athletes who suit different style of courses, and we just happen to be doing a World Championships on a course that really suits me well.
It really does suit you well. Yes.
Yeah, but that comes along with a bit of pressure as well. You know, when I'm doing races that maybe don't suit me as well, you go in as like nobody's talking about you, but all of a sudden everybody's infatuated with my weight. Which, if I was maybe a little bit more sensitive, I'd probably have a complex by now.
I think the main deal is, I look at it not so much from a weight thing. I look at it from a Brent McMahon, a Braden Curry, a Bradley Weiss, and go, these are guys who know how to handle every type of terrain there is on a bike. And there's nothing that's going to happen out there on race day that's going to surprise them, because they know the bumps, they know the sewer covers, they know everything. They've ridden the Flume Trail. They've ridden some of the toughest things in the world. There's nothing on this course that's going to intimidate Bradley Weiss.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everybody is like very focused in on the climb and watts per kg, which definitely will come into it. But it's also, we have to do, 1,000 corners out there.
Exactly.
And if you're making a second every corner and just not having to hit the brakes because you're a bit more confident in your equipment and the way you can handle a bike, and you're not having to accelerate, you might not get dropped. But if you're having to accelerate 1,000 times to try and just close the gap every time, it's going to take a toll on you.
That's a great point.
People mustn't forget that this is still a triathlon. You know, we still have to swim 3.8 Ks, ride 180, and then run a marathon, and it's going to be the best triathlete who wins on the day. Definitely there'll be some guys that people are not talking about.
No question.
You know, guys, some of the French athletes like Leon Chevalier, who I think he's actually now come into as a favorite.
Rudy Von Berg. And
exactly.
Dennis Chevreau.
Dennis's run is phenomenal, and people don't realize how strong he is on the bike as well. So, and they racing in their hometown, their home event now, you know, so that definitely comes with a lot of hometown support. So yeah, I think it's going to be a big battle out there. I think the bike will definitely split it up a lot. You know, we tend to be quite familiar with seeing big packs in Kona. It's not going to happen here. No. I think there will be some tactical maneuvers, guys maybe saving themselves for the run, and just happy to, once they get back to the lead, just sit in. You know, maybe a guy like Magnus or someone who maybe has a bit of a small gap to close coming out the water. He might just settle in once he does make contact with the front group, but
he might go right by too.
Yeah, that's also true.
Because he doesn't want someone like yourself or Patrick Lange coming off the bike in the same zip code.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's going to be like some interesting run battles out there, because guys are going to maybe spend too many matches on the bike, get a bit overconfident, and the big climb Col de Lerch is right in the beginning of the ride. So, you know, it's about kilometer. I think you finish it at about 60 Ks into the bike, so you still have 120 Ks of riding to go. So if you've spent all your cherries that early on in the race, it's going to be a long day for you.
And the run, what's fascinating to me is, obviously you got Patrick Lange's run a couple of 2:30 marathons, and a lot of times when you get into the run portion, especially in Kona, you go, once you're through town, they're on the lava fields, you're by yourself, right? Yeah. There's nobody there. With all these people going crazy in the street, people can lose it, right? And start running way too hard and burn way too many matches early on in this run and then be done.
Yeah, exactly. And out in Kona, we have the Energy Lab, which I think people kind of use as like something to like hold themselves back and save a little bit for.
Right.
But we don't have that here. It's just 4 laps along the promenade. And as you say, it's just the intensity of the crowd, I think, is going to be quite difficult to manage.
Yes.
I think it's going to be pretty hot by that time of the day as well.
It's been very hot every afternoon. Yes.
Yeah, and there's not a patch of shade out there.
None.
So I think it's going to be... I don't expect it to be like the fastest marathons. There might be a Patrick Lange or Dennis Chevreau who does run low 230s. But I think it's going to be like a slightly more tactical marathon.
Yeah. It was funny when I was talking to Braden Curry. I said, "This course really suits you." He says, "Yeah, except when we get off the bike, I want to head up in the mountains." I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah, no, I mean,
if they did some
it's
trails,
it's so unfortunate. Like, there's such great climbing, like so close by, but we just run up and down the beach.
Imagine they took you guys up the trail. You'd be guys like, "Oh my God, that's my course."
Then people would really be in trouble.
They would be in trouble. But with Challenge Roth, where you had Magnus and Sam Laidlaw go off the front and both ride sub 4 hours on that course, and people think. They think, okay, there's the 2 times you go up Solar Hill. That's sort of the beginning of the conversation. There's other major climbs out there, and when people go as fast as you rode 412 there. That's a fast bike split on a course that I think is pretty difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, there's not a lot of flat out there. And, and it's quite technical as well. There's a lot of twists and turns. You go through a lot of small little villages in the surrounding neighborhood of Roth. But yeah, it was a phenomenally fast day. Those guys up front were just in a different zip code, actually.
Yes.
So I didn't have my best day, unfortunately. So just sort of made the best out of it, and I think I was like in 4th or 5th at a stage, and then kind of faded a bit to the back end of the marathon. But yeah, it was awesome to witness like such great performances, and definitely inspired the preparation towards this event to be a bit better.
It's funny when you talk about it, a little disappointing. You ran 2:42 and you went 7:46. Back in the day, they'd be having ticker tape parades back in South Africa for you winning the Challenge Roth with times like that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like the trajectory of the sport has just taken such a big leap in the last few years.
Yes.
And the professionalism of it. I should have got in a few years ago because, as you say, I would have been winning races like this with these times. But yeah, I think as soon as somebody breaks those barriers, it just becomes like a lot more achievable for everyone mentally. And I think the depth of the field allows us to go this much faster because we can push one another. And the pack dynamics do play a role in the bike splits. And back in the day when Mark Allen and them were racing, it was very much a solo individual time trial.
It was only a couple guys there.
Yeah. Whereas now you're getting big trains of 20, 30 guys, and I mean,
makes it tough.
At one stage in the 70.3 World Championships this year, there was 39 guys in the second group.
Oh my God! It's like an ITU race.
Yeah, I mean,
it's changed. Yeah,
it's really difficult dynamics to try and navigate, and which will be great on this course. That it'll be a lot easier to separate and get into your own rhythm. So yeah.
And then you've done a couple of the PTO races, right? This year you did the 17th European Open. Those races are like World Championship races. Everybody you look at is one of the best in the world. So if you finish top 20 in a race like that, at a distance it probably doesn't suit you as well. It's shorter, but what do you gain from those races?
Yeah, it's been wonderful, and the PTO have been such an amazing addition to the sport of professional triathlon. And it seems like they will be expanding next year. So it's making race selection quite difficult, and it's definitely affected this race.
That's a positive, right?
We have a few non-starters as a result of just the busy calendar.
Right.
So it takes a little bit of more preparation and planning around your season and trying to peak when it actually matters. Mm-hmm. So while the PTO events were definitely important in my season, they weren't like major focuses.
Right. This was the focus.
Right. So we'll see on Sunday whether the season is successful or not. But in saying that, like racing against, as you say, like the quality of fields that are at the PTO events, it's such great experience. And you read through the list, and it's just like, well, anybody could win this race on their day.
Exactly.
You can almost build a case for every athlete as to how they would win that event. So yeah, it's awesome, and it's bringing a lot of excitement to the world of professional triathlon, and I look forward to what the PTO have in store for us in the future.
What are your goals here?
I mean, I won XTERRA World Championships twice, and I'm very much an athlete who has that mindset of like I can win, despite whoever's on the start list. I think a lot of athletes go in and are happy to let others lead the way, and like, oh, I'll be content with the top 5. I mean, in reality, as you say, like the field is incredibly strong, but on my day, I think I can compete against any of them. So the goal is definitely to try and win a world title at some point. I think this course has everything I need to take advantage of it.
Yes.
And I've never raced on a course like this before, so I might make a few mistakes out there, and maybe, if you go too deep on the climbs or what you think is your strengths and burn too many matches, you might end up coming undone at the end of it. But I think I'll definitely be able to put myself into contention for a great race out there.
When you train with a guy like a Jan Frodeno, a 3-time Ironman World Champion, Olympic gold medalist, what did you can gain a lot of confidence, or you can come away going, oh my God, that guy's in a different league than I am. What did you gain from all this last 5 months?
I think it probably brought me more like confidence and just realizing that he also has bad days and has rough days and days that he struggles, and not that you want to see him struggling. I mean, it's great when he's on fire. It's amazing, especially just he's such an all-rounder. He doesn't really have any weaknesses. Right. So when he's going well, it's impressive to see, and it's very inspiring. But at the same time, you know that he is definitely beatable.
Right.
He's not impossible to beat, and I mean, guys have proven it already. I wish for him for his best day. As a friend, I hope he can end on top. I mean, it'll be a wonderful story for our sport as well.
Yes.
So it's a weird one, because I really want him to do well, but at the end of the day, I'm one of his competitors.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm just going to be focusing on myself, and if I'm in a position to push him and make him earn that world title, then I definitely will.
I love that.
But there'll be no inch given on race day, and I think it's one of the great things about our sport is I think in very few other professional sports you have a situation where guys are actually working together to become better. And once the gun goes, it's every man for themselves. But when we're done, we crack a beer and talk about war stories, which is something I'm really looking forward to, because I haven't had many beers this year.
You got to be light for this race.
Absolutely. I mean, I think people maybe have focused on it too much, and just not that you want to start looking at people's bodies. I think it's a mistake, and Christian Blumenfeld has proven that time and time again, that you do not need to be 0% body fat to win triathlon races. But I think there's a few guys who are running a little bit light, and it might come back to bite them.
It's funny, because after Jan won in he won 15 and 16 at Kona. And after the 16 race, I remember at the finish line, here comes Patrick Lange running a 2:39 in 3rd place. And you can almost see the wheels going, yeah, I won, but this guy is coming, and I got to run faster. And we saw him in 17 at our interview. It was my wife who said, he's too skinny. Yeah. He's not going to have his race, because there's a fine line. You get too skinny, you don't have the power. Exactly. You got to have it both. The balance is the hardest part.
Yeah, it's the easier thing for me, because I don't focus on my weight. I haven't weighed myself in months. It's not something I worry about.
No.
Where I think a lot of other guys have been counting calories, and it's a dangerous game to play.
Yes.
It's probably necessary for some of the bigger guys to try and be a few kilograms lighter.
Right.
But it definitely can come back to bite you, and we're definitely always playing on that line. Of either super fit or injured or sick. So it'll be interesting to see who got it right and who got it wrong.
Now, Sebi's greatest line was, it's a thin line between being fit and fucked.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to say that, but I thought
it's my show. I can say that.
Exactly.
I can say whatever I want.
And it couldn't be more true for an event like this, is that, it's going to be a long day. It'll probably be over 8 hours. I mean, maybe somebody will break the 8-hour barrier here, but I think it'll be tough to do on this course.
Yes.
But it's going to be a long day, and I wouldn't want to be struggling early on the bike. It's going to be a long day.
Yeah, we've been seeing 404, 405 in Kona, right? And this could be more like 440, 430 plus.
Yeah,
it's an extra half hour, 40 minutes for people, which means more nutrition, more chances to burn too many matches, all the rest of that. And that plays to your strengths.
It does, but the difference is that we then descend for a long way.
Yes.
And that drops your heart rate quite significantly. It allows you to rest, it allows you to eat, it allows you to refuel. which might bring guys back into it, actually.
Who might have been done.
Exactly. Whereas the last 40 minutes to an hour in Kona is absolutely brutal on the bike. Like, you completely empty by the time you get to T2.
That's a great point.
And this will be a bit different, is that guys might actually have a chance to recover and get some calories in, and that might push it out to a bit of a faster marathon. So I think there's a lot of dynamics that people haven't thought about that are going to unfold on the weekend. But I've got a few tricks up my sleeve to make sure that I can mix it up with the best.
You can share those. There's nobody watching. Bradley, thank you so much for taking time. It's always such a treat to chat with you. I love the energy you bring to the table, and just you're going to have a great race on. I can just see you're going to have a great race on Sunday.
Yeah, thank you so much. Look forward to it.
Bradley Weiss has been our guest again. Breakfast with Bob from Hotel West End in beautiful Nice. Hold on. We'll be right back.